Give a warm welcome to Nuno Guimarães. He's from Slovakia, and he will talk about the ecology of the wolf. So I just give the word to you. And
thank you very much. And welcome everybody. My name is Nuno. It doesn't sound Slovak because I'm Portuguese. I'm just living in Slovakia for more than 12 years already. And since then I've been working with wolves, large carnivores in general, wolves, bears and lynx, and as well now with the shackle since 2016. Today I come to present the work that it's in evolution. Some part of the work is divided in 3 parts. One part is concluded, the second is in the middle, and the third is still to come, because as well we are dealing with the African swine fever, so it's still an evolution disease. This work I'm doing in cooperation with 3 colleagues, Francisco Alvarez, that is from Portugal, from Porto University CDO, and the other 2, Rudolf Kropil and Peter Smolko, they are those from my university. Tuzvo Technical University in Zvolen is almost in the center of Slovakia. Our faculty is the forest faculty, and we are applied zoology and wildlife management. And I'm a researcher there, and in this moment we are dealing with the wolf. We have a lifelinks project. We were working as well in data from the bear. I don't know if you have some sound of the bear problematic we have now in Slovakia. But well, today's focus on wolf. This is what I specialize in. My PhD was wolf ecology and management. And today I'm going to speak a little bit about the role of the wolf in the ecosystems. But the main target is to understand what can we expect from the wolf in the African swine fever. If I speak too fast, just let me know, because sometimes I start speeding up. So as you know, or more people know, the wolf is an apex predator, top of the chain food. The only predator for the wolf is mainly the human. In the phase of adult, but is well known, especially from Belarusia, that the lynx is one of the problem for the cubs or pups of the wolf. Is one of the most that incite the mortality of the wolves. But as an apex predator, is mainly the regulator of the ecosystems. Is a social animal. He lives in packs. The life of the wolf is to gather a partner, have their own territory, and then make the breeding system. We have many situations in Europe that we are counting the wolves as a number of individuals, but this is the proper information, is the pack. They are low density populations. A pack can go from 80 square kilometers to 1,000 square kilometers. If we count that in Europe, average is 5 elemental minimum, but can go up to 12, 14 or more. It depends on the time of the year, especially when the new pups arise, the population of that specific pack increases. They have wide movements. And this wide movement is not just the traveling inside the pack territory. They can do like 40 kilometers inside their own territory. So we have to imagine that in the 200 square kilometers they will do 50 kilometers or 40 kilometers. It depends where is the prey, where is the time of the year. So there are many influences on that situation. But we know as well that he makes long migrations. We have a sad situation this year that the wolf migrated from Switzerland. He made 1,900 kilometers, 2 weeks in the Vienna in holidays, 2 weeks in Budapest, and then unfortunately come to an end in this area. But it could be here, it could be anywhere, right? And this elusive behavior, it maybe is what makes them so much attractive, because it's very difficult to see the wolf. Even in my study, that was 4 years in the field, 3-4 years in the field, I saw few times. It's not many times, but few times. It's mostly nocturnal, and he avoids the people. Most of the time, the wolf can have senses of 5 kilometers of smell if there is no wind, so he will detect that people is coming, especially if you have gunpowder and cigarettes. That is the most scary for the wolves. This is a small image of one of the main areas that I made my study. This is the typical inside Carpathian Mountains. In terms of Europe, the distribution, they are divided in some populations. But actually, the populations is just a management problem, is mainly to founding situations, because nowadays, just the Peninsula Iberica, that is a subpopulation, the Canis Ibericus, is a little bit far away from the rest of the European wolf. But the population of the wolf is quite increasing. We get news this week that just in Germany, in very few time nowadays they have 184 packs, which is a quite relevant number for such a country with so few forests like we are expecting the wolf to be. As you can see as well, if this is working. Hey, the Carpathians, we have here as well, Hungary 3,460 to 3,849. But as you can see as well, there is no permanence situation here, because as well it was in 2016. If it was in 2023, we would have already some dots here. And the situation both in Slovakia, both in Portugal, is not because I live in Slovakia and I'm from Portugal. The grey is because the data and the presence of the status is really a bit uncertain, mostly because of the type of monitoring that is being done. But the population in Europe is quite stable. PT was a few years ago, now I have to go back in this part. A few years ago, the Sierra Morena population in Spain got extinct, because you can see as well that this is like 500 kilometers distance, so it's kind of a very, very difficult. They say that some people see one wolf from time, that doesn't help a population to grow. We have the same problem in Portugal, but that's the different story. As you can see in the Carpathians, the wolf is quite well populated. There is no data very relevant from Ukraine, but like once again it's 2016, so we don't have area. But this part of the Carpathians, that is part in Hungary, we have wolves here, and maybe the guys they can confirm it. From Buk National Park and Aktelet National Park, and as well from this region that I don't remember very good the name. The past and presence. As you know, Slovakia is special in terms of the wolf, because the wolf was never extinct. It was always present. It is one of the few countries, actually the Carpathian is one of few places where the wolf never got extinct. But as well, it was not an easy life for wolf. We have a record from 1945, and this is actually the number of wolves that were killed in all these years. So you can understand 4,610 wolves were killed from 1945 till 2022, registered and recorded. I'm not talking about poaching. If I talk about, just make an idea, maybe it would double. But the problem of the wolf in this period was that the wolf was cooled, and the government was paying for cooling individuals from pups. They would give the same money as a pup as a 6-7 years old individual, so there was not so much of a difference. The lowest population was around 75 when the wolf and the IUCN released one of the first wolf red book. And in that red book there were certain recommendations. Some countries got it very good. Slovakia got it in very low proportions, but at least that it came the abolition of this bounty, or what it means is that people would not receive more money. Just for an idea, you could get $200 in 1960 for a cub. So a family of hunters or a family of could sustain if they kill 5-6 wolves per year. So it was a little bit cultural problem. Then we still maintain some of this DNA in the people. Then they realized that we have to make a hunting season. So from August till February, the wolf was being hunted. They stopped, and then in 1995 there was a contradictory legislation, because the hunting legislation was saying that the wolf is game species and we can hunt it, and the environmental legislation was saying no, we are protected. What happened is that the wolf continued being killed. In 2001 the things start changing, because Slovakia was waiting to go to the European Union. So they start making some border protections, especially the first one. One of the first ones was exactly the Hungarian border to facilitate the migration of the animals from north to south. And this is already a little bit farther from 2013, but this was the first area that got protected. Basically, this protection came for the connection with Poland, because there were packs that were living in both sides of the country, as well with Czech Republic and with Hungary. Continue with the life of the wolf. Then we came to the European Union, so we have to follow the habitats directives. We have to follow all the rules, and actually now we have sanctions if we don't follow the rule. Not like before. I will talk a little bit then later. From 2013, it came at the reality, because the hunting season didn't determine really how many wolves could be killed. They had a quota plan that is very useful in this hunting perspective. So from the seasonal quota, the wolf was determined, and you can see that the difference became quite clear in terms of killing of the wolves. Then in 2016, it came the Natura, that map that I showed before. It was increased the area of protection of wolf. I can just go back a bit and show you that all this area in red, it was not allowed to kill the wolf, even during the hunting season. And then in 2021, finally, from one lobby part of the country, the wolf became a full protected. It's still a game species in the part of the hunting law, but the environmental law says that it's strictly protected. And now, because we are in the European Union, we need these to follow these regulations. Like you see, the protected areas didn't influence so much where the wolf is actually, because this is a very sporadic presence of the wolf, and this is the main core area where the wolf is. Is as well the main core of the forest and high altitude mountains. In terms of the conservation, in 2019 it was in least concern. The site was the transport and the passing the animal to living animals and illegal killings. But these three, they are all pretty, everybody talk about them, but they are just not regulatory. They are just the kind of an idea to make more different. No, it's second. They don't have sanctions, but the countries won't pay fines. This one does, but Slovakia is unluckily for wolves. We are in the Annex 5. What it means that we can regulate wolves as long as we maintain a sustainable population. And in Slovakia, like I was telling you, the wolf is in two laws. The hunting law, that is a game species, but in this moment it's not allowed to hunt wolf. And then the act in nature that was amended to the 2002 that makes the wolf fully protected. Current wolf conflicts damage, like everybody, like everywhere in the world, the main is depredation on livestock. We have as well the problem of the competition with the hunters, because the hunters, they rent the area and they have the capacity to hunt the red deer, roe deer, wild boar, and therefore they are investing money to keep the animals, and then the wolf comes and makes these damages, so the hunters are trying to get this money back. Just for an idea, red deer can cost 5,000 euros. It can be a good profit for the rent of the hunting ground that can go to 40,000, 50,000 euros per year. Then the road collisions. This is the most problem for the wolves. Besides the poaching, the road collisions and the accidents in the roads is one of the biggest incidents of mortality of the wolf. There are rare situations of risk and injuries. There are, especially for example in India, there are many situations of the wolf attacks, but the main problem in Europe was with the rabies. Wolf with the rabies of any animal, even humans with rabies, it is a problem. But at this moment there is no records. Besides, there are records that wolves enter in the facilities in the houses to eat the dogs or eat the cats in some situations, but there was never a real confront, as long as we know, right? Then there are ecological and social implications, the locations of the packs, where the wolves are going around. For example, in Netherlands, there are many situations that the wolves are going to the city, and people start creating panic and afraid of the situation that can come. And this, in the small villages in Slovakia, this brings some negative influences that the people start to be afraid, and the hunters make the favor to the people and make the poaching, and that's why even in Slovakia, besides it's protected, still is a lot of poaching. In terms of ecological effects, and becoming a bit for the tema is the maintain the balance of the ecosystems regulations. You could see the Yellowstone is not a clear situation because there were many other factors that influenced the rejuvenation of Yellowstone. But of course, the wolves have an important function because they start pushing the prey to not be stable in one area. And imagine if you have a herd of red deers eating in the same location for a month, it's easy to understand what is going. But as well, for example, rabbits, they are one of the main causes for eating the small spruce. So there are many influences that the wolf have. And automatically reduce the damages on the forests. The red deer, for example, they used to take the bark from the trees, what automatically make the production of the wood very, very problematic, and as well the crops. Especially here in Hungary, I believe that massive herds of red deer, the damage that they can cause to the corn is quite huge. And the other hand, the predation on the sick individuals, the predation on the young, it makes the population more healthy. And this is one thing that some hunters or the community of the hunting doesn't see it very clear, is that when you have a healthy population, then the price, the hunting premium will be much better, the huntlers and all that situation, if you have a very healthy population. But exactly this wolf selective predation, the removal of the disease from the forest, from the wild animals, and mostly the wild ungulates, that is what I'm going to phrase, because as well you have the mice population and the small mammals, that as well some diseases, multiple situations that we don't even see it because we don't record it, that wolf eat that rabbit that was with sickness. So, for example, we have in the Canada the chronic waste disease. For a small idea, I'm not in this disease parasitology field, but this chronic waste disease is like the crazy cows disease that blocks the brain of the red deer and then they just collapse. And there is Thompson Hobbs that made a small study about the effects of the wolf predation. We have, for example, the anthrax. That is a disease that is not just in America. You have it as well some situations in Europe, but as well the wolves make the decrease of the incidence of the disease or the virus contamination on the buffalo bison. The tuberculosis as well, in the case of even here in Europe, we have some situations of tuberculosis in the wild boar, that was as well. These situations are all found in the scat when the scat is analyzed farther from the trophic ecology. We have the papillomatosis that is not really that threatening for the animals, but once this benign cancer starts growing in the faces and then the animal cannot see, it can spread by the blood, well, this becomes a little bit of a prey. And actually, this photo was taken in Austria from a kill of the wolves. The wolves were colored, and we found the prey. But of course, this animal like this, if you will have the chance to reproduce, you can imagine that how is it going, this disease to be affected. So this was the main question in our study. Once we did some analysis, if we can find this trend that the wolf can have a paper or can have a role in not terminate the disease, but control it in some aspects. So just to start with a bit of the African swine fever, because it's a main tema nowadays in Europe, is a non-zoonotic disease, so it doesn't affect humans. We can eat a meat that is infected with the African swine fever, and it just affects the pigs and the wild boars. There was a study, still with some questions in Poland, from colleagues from the Academy of Sciences, that they analyzed some scats from wolf.
and the wolf that probably eats the carcasses of African swine fever. So so the analysis on the scats were negative for the presence of the African swine fever. So this is a beginning. We have to challenge more the laboratory practices. But you can see the amount of symptoms that the wild boar can have. They are quite large, and the most interesting is that we cannot see the disease. The wild boar can be in the last days of life. It can be much healthy outside. So it's a problematic for the hunting and even for the species. And only in the laboratory with the analysis of the animal parts we can really get an idea about if the animal is sick or not. How it all began, of course, African swine fever, it came from Africa. It was mainly the wild hogs. This particularity, the African swine fever, comparing with the classic swine fever, is this small animal, is that the African swine fever is transmitted by the ticks. And it was transmitted by the ticks from the wild hog to the pigs. And then with the pigs, with the exportation, I will show you the maps, by the meat or even by alive animals, that is how it came to the wild boar and how it came to our nature in Europe. As you know, we don't have wild hogs. So all this process, nowadays, we are just in this area, in the part of Europe. So there is as well the contamination of people with the dirty shoes or with the contaminated clothes that can pass. I'm going to show you as well some part. So this most interesting when I start studying is that the first and the second problem with the African swine fever came from Portugal, from animals coming from Angola in the 57 and 60. 57 was the first and 60 was the second. This was the biggest third in that area. You can see that the Netherlands was the last one getting the extermination and finished the African swine fever presence. But as you will see, this is an island of Sardinia, and it was the disease stayed there endemic. So it was quite interesting that they didn't do much activities, but the disease stayed present in the island. Then in 2007, the actual situation of African swine fever started in 2007, as well coming from animals coming from Africa to the east part, and then normally went passing by. The first case was in Slovakia was in 2019, and you can see this is the actual situation. More than 73 countries have the disease. And we can imagine that this is the area of wolf as well, so it can be a little bit different. Just for curiosity, from January 22 to July 23, there were more than 800 cases here in Hungary. This is a little bit the mitigation measures that the European Union did. There are some areas that the animals are being killed constantly. The zone 0, there is no hunting and no feeding. The extra feeding of the animals was one of the first things that the European Union cut, because it's where the animals could gather together. It could be where the animals could die. And the biggest problem for the wild boar, the African swine fever, is other wild boars, because they are cannibals. They eat the same species, and they can eat infected individuals, and they will get infected. So this was the measures done by the European Union, basically based on the World Organization for Animal Health, as well as the FAO organization and the European Union. So there were no hunting in the 0, no hunting in the 1, but then in the 2 they were starting to target some individuals, and in the 3 area you will see how it would become. So you have the area 3 that is in the part of the Romania, but part of our Carpathian, so they are being killed in a massive way. In Slovakia we had as well. Now it's a little bit more becoming endemic and reducing the numbers, but we can see in some areas that the wild boar totally disappeared. For two situations, for dying, for the disease, and for the hunting. Again, the colors are not the best, but yeah, This is the red zone. That is where they are being killed much massively. So you have sometimes situations like this that the hunters cannot eat the wild boar. They have to wait for the results, so they have to keep it in the big freezers or fridges, and then wait for the results to know if they can pick the meat. Because besides it's not bad for humans to eat it, it's not ethically good to eat it. So this was the prevention campaign, like I was telling you, the clothes and all that, the material itself to make the production needs to be clean, because this is one of the main way of the passing the disease, not just for the pigs, as well for the wild boar. There are many measures that when the hunter kills the wild boar, they have to have many procedures that they won't take the contamination out of the location, right? So that came again the question, can we see the African swine fever with the same effect as we saw in the anthrax, in the tuberculosis and this situation? So for this we start our process of analysis. We made three main questions. First is if the wild boar is significant in the wolf prey, as a prey. And then as well to understand where the wolf selects habitat, if the habitat of the wild boar will be in connection with the wolf one, and then to understand really if there is some limitation about the wolf, because it's clear, understandable, the wolf is not a solution for all the situations, but it can control the specialist controlling the spread. It is already important. And basically our hypothesis was this positive hypothesis, because we believe that with so many examples that the wolf can have a big role on all this situation. So we start with the trophic ecology. We try to understand what is the selection of wolves in terms of prey. Then we analyze the habitat selection of the wolves. And then we try to understand about this limitation of the African swine fever, if the wolf will need to be in account for ecosystem services. And when we talk about the situation of ecosystem services, is because a lot of money is being spent for the African swine fever control, the tests. Each test for one animal is 50 euros. They catch 842 here in Hungary, so we make the calculations for the ones that were not positive, right? Because that ones is the ones that were tested, right? So you have many situations that the wolf can have economical value on the ecosystem by limiting the African swine fever. This was how it started. We collect 321 cats right in the center. This was a my study area. We made analysis, microscopic analysis of the air contents on the scats. This document, this article is published already in the +1. This was the three areas. This is the protected landscape area. This is a national park, Moranska Planina. And then this area is an area with no protection at all. And this is an eastern national park that is bordered with Ukraine and with Poland. So in this situation, we analyzed the scats. And we try to see what was the frequency of consume, and as well the biomass important of the situation. And then we try to analyze the prey selectivity, but then we went a little bit further to see as well the vulnerability of the species and the prey selection in terms of generalized linear models. Then the habitat selection was a little bit more not complicated, but more bigger work. We are still working on it. Hopefully this year we'll go for publication. We based our study in 1,300 records of signs of presence of wolf, and these were collected by experts. We analyze it and we evaluate it with the scalp, and just C1 and C2. I don't know if you are aware of the scalp evaluation of the presence of signs. C1 is the one that you have the evidence of the photography of the wolf, or you see the wolf, or the expert have the proof of the wolf, or the wolf killed the wolf, is as well C1. C2 is when the expert evaluate the presence sign, and then you have C3 that is questionable, and then you have even now the C4 that is totally outside of the there is no uncertainty at all. But in this study, we covered 1,912 kilometers in these 3 years of study. This basically was the area of study. Then we made a small increase just to make more calculations. And again, this is the protected landscape, and this is the national park. And then for helping in our generalized linear models, of course, we have the absence and presence. The presence was exactly the locations where we have the wolf locations, and then we made the real, we generate the real absence locations based on where we did not find the wolf during the transects. So we made a kind of a mix. It is sometimes more valuable when we make these studies with the GPS collars, but with the GPS collars you don't have the real data about the absence presence. So continuation, this was the main variables we use. We tried to understand the factors of the topography with the steepness, the roughness of the territory, and the aspect we divided in two. We made it the north and south and east and west. Can have different factors, that's why we separate both. North and south can be connected with the melting of the snow, and as well from the preferences of the prey to go north and south. The east and west can be as well for the solar time of the day that the surface is with more sun, and when the sun starts in the morning, so some parts in the east part will be more selected, as well for denning and the refugee areas. The environmental, we try to understand where is the tree cover density, the snow cover duration. This was basically how many days the snow is present. We didn't deal so much with the altitude of the snow cover, with the range of the cover, but it was enough for this. Then we did as well the distance to water. It's quite questionable because in the Carpathians, in this area, we have many areas with the springs, with the water available for the animals, and of course the land cover that we divided. We picked the Corin data, and you know that we have 40 variables there, but we gathered all together. We divided in deciduous forests, we divided in the coniferous, mixed forests, pastures, agriculture field, and the transition shrub as well. We remove all the data about the humans because we use the human presence based on the night light. There is a new variable, and we were very happy to find it because it's the light that is transmitted to the sky. Mostly of the light is human, so we calculated based on that part. Then we put as well the main roads and the wolf harvest, because the study was till 2017, and in this time the wolf was still being hunted. So we have that in consideration. Of course, not in all the seasons. We made 3 seasons. We didn't base about summer, winter, because it would be complicated for the ecology of the wolf. We could divide these in 3 more seasons, but we select the breeding, where we compose the mating and the giving birth to the pups. That was more or less from February till May, and then the pup raising is the time that the pups are being raised, and they are dependent of the mother and the rest of the pack. And then the non-breeding is when the pup is adult and joins the pack and starts making the normal life of a wolf inside the pack. So we decided these three seasons because it makes more sense for the ecology of wolf, and once we are talking about habitat selection, we should follow as well these ecological traits. And this was the rest of the part for how we prepared the methods for the African swine fever analysis. In this time period, we just have in this moment 322 positive cases. So we use these positive cases together with the 9,335 negative cases. These were randomly selected. It was not so much interference in the position of the wild boars, but this information was not 100% available, but is very, very low problematic in using it in this way. We use as well a binomial regression probability of the wild boar being infected or not. With explanatory variables, we use the biological, the sex and age of the wild boar. Spatial temporal, we understand the direction. For example, if this was in January and this in February, we had this in account for our analysis. We made the habitat structure and productive where the wild boar can be present, and then we joined the wolf predation risk. That this wolf predation risk was the one of the last outputs that we are still preparing from the habitat selection. Just for a clear, for somebody that is not so much integrated, the habitat selection of wolf is the problematic areas for the prey. Because if the wolf selected areas, it's a predation risk that the animals have. So we transform this data in this situation. So we start with the results of the trophic diet of wolf, and we find out that the wild boar was the second preferred species, the second most preferred for foods, with 34.7 after the red deer. The red deer was the most preferred prey, and as well the most consumed. But when we analyze the selection of the prey, and this just as well for somebody that is not so much in this part of statistics, this is the amount of population and the amount of eaten by the wolves. So if you have 100 wild boars and the wolf eat 90, and you have 1,000 red deers and the wolf eat 19, there is some selection for the wild boar, right? And in almost all the areas, we found the selection. This is the should be an arrow there. We have the selection of the wild boar. Just in this region, the Polonini was not selected because it's a totally different area in terms of habitat. It's a lower land. And the wild boar have much more choice there to be present, and as well the red deer and the population is totally different. But in the main core area, we found out that there is a selection of the wolf for the wild boar. So we were one step further for the situation. Then we look for the habitat selection. What could be the wolf habitat selection? We found out that night lights that represent the presence of humans, and as well the hunting was the most influential variables for the wolf. We can see that the steepness, there are some negative, so wolf prefer less steep slopes. Then the north, the wolf prefer more southern because this is negative value, so we have to see it inverse. There were, in all the 3 seasons, there were a variation on the east and west selection that was varied between the breeding and the pup raising. This can be connected as well with the localization of the den, localization of the rendezvous sites. So there are some factors that can increase. The roughness, it was just important in the pup raising in the inverse way. So when the terrain is not so rough, so it's more plain, the wolf have a capacity to see the prey far away, as well as the capacity to see the people far away. But that doesn't mean that they are in the plain and the naked place. As you can see with the tree cover density, they should as well some different areas. And this one it was an intersection that we found between the tree cover density and the distance to main roads, where the wolves are choosing main roads, but with the tree cover density high. Right. So just a small factors presentation. You can see that the presence of wolf probability of selection is it's much negative when the lights increase. This is when there is no lights, and this is when there is the cities and the more population. Then this is the interaction that we found between the distance to water and the hunting. We are still analyzing a little bit further because there are many differences along Europe. But basically, when there is no hunting, the wolf goes away from the goes near the roads, and when is no hunting, the wolf is a random choice of the territory. This is one of the most questionable part of our study. And the land cover, you can see that during the breeding season, and this breeding season is when the animals are looking for a location when the female is about to get the hormones high level, they are going to mate, and then she have to choose a burrow where to then when to wait for the birth of the pups. So you can see that there is a lot of variation and there is a lot of selection in the different land covers. And then in the pup raising season, that is the summer. In the summer, there is much more places for refugees. There is more. All the vegetation is in the green time, so there is not so much of selection. And in the non-breeding, it shows here with us that the wolves are a little bit looking. You can see that shrub area is the area that wolves tend to look, because the shrub is near the agricultural fields where the prey gathers together. So wolf doesn't need to choose agricultural fields to go to hunt. They just need to go around and check out again. And like I was telling you before, the senses of the wolf of the smell can go up to 2 kilometers or more. So they don't need to go to inside the agricultural field to see where is the prey. So this was the first map of the breeding season. You can see that the main core areas of the protected landscape area and the main core areas of the national park were most selected. The area with no protection, this is an area where there is a lot of human activities. So the wolf is much more elusive in these areas. These are the Niski Tatra, but this is already extrapolated data that we rely on the value that we collect in this area. Now we will see some small phenomenon that the pup raising season and the summer increased a bit. The wolf was less concentrated like in the breeding season. It resembled a bit in the breeding season that the wolf is looking for the specific territories and marking the specific territories, and this is where we found the evidence of prey. In the pup raising, the wolves, the group of pups with one adult, normally the mother in the beginning, stays in the den, but then the wolves are looking for food everywhere. Because if they have a den in one location and the prey moved in the between, so they have to make large kilometers to bring the food back to the den. And then the one most interesting as well, that is the non-breeding season. As well, this is in the time that there are many people there, and especially the hunters. This is the non-breeding season. This was from November, 1st of November, till the 15th of January. That was the time period, 2 months and a half for hunting. So in this area, you can see that the difference that the wolves from the one part that they were not being persecuted to the part that they were being persecuted, the habitat selection just changed totally. So there was really the impact that we saw in our statistics about the influence of the hunting. There is really this impact of the influence. This is how we can see it. And then when there is hunting, there is already a small increase, but is after that time of pressure. So the wolves are more enlarged a bit than in the previous. I can push it back just to see that now the screen is not helping, but it's a little bit of a different. This is hunting and this is no hunting. And if I put back to this is the breeding season and this is the pup raising. So this pup raising is the summer period from June till the end of October. So the wolves are all around. So from these 4 maps, then we analyze and we made the extrapolation, and this is how the map becomes so big, because our study area was right in the center, and then we make extrapolation, and then to calculate this map here that we call the wolf predation risk, we calculate how many days in each model we had, and then we transform it in the year-round habitat selection, aka wolf predation risk. So this is the map a little bit different from all the others, but you can see that there are these points in white, well, there is no color, these are the main cities and villages. So you can see that all around the villages there is no selection of wolves, and there is no data of the wolves. And then we go back to the African swine fever. Can the wolf be really handy for this disease? So we start analyzing with all the data that we had before, and this is the results that we first catch. This is the time CC infection. So you have the inception, then you have epidemia. This is a little bit like the corona. We saw the maps of the graphics of corona. When the corona came, this is the boom. And when this is exactly when the African swine fever arrived to the territory, this is the first image you see is that the animal is getting much attacked. And I think I had no. Yeah. This is as well very near the data, the real data of the incidence of the African swine fever. So we can see that the time was valuable. This is the distance to human settlements. So it means that when the African swine fever was found much more near the settlements, exactly where I told you that the wolves are not so much selecting. And you can see that 10 kilometers from the villages, the incident and probability of infection is much lower. This brings automatically the problem of the infection and the contamination of the wild boar to the pigs. So it's automatically passing the disease, and the probability of infection as well from the pigs is higher with African swine fever and with proximity. The wolf predation risk, again, when is more predation risk, there is less African swine fever presence or probability of infection. Here is where the wolf doesn't select or is not a risk for the animals, and here is the maximum selection. So the probability is much higher there. And this is the proximity, the spatial temporal situation. One contaminated individual, how faster it will contaminate the other individual. And you can see as well with the proximity, and when they gather all together, the incidence of passing the disease is quite big, while there are some territory in between the disease doesn't pass so much. It means as well that here there is a high probability of the cannibalism on the wild boar when they found one dead individual. And actually this area as well, it was mostly the area where the hunters and the foresters, they feed the animals. So you have the aggregation of the wild population, and then you have aggregation of the disease as well, right? So then, according to the age of the individuals, you can see that the most problematic is the piglets. Actually, they can, if the mother is infected, they can already born dead. So they born dead, and once again, as a cannibalist, the first thing that the wild boar will do is to eat some meat that is in the floor. The wolves as well. This is a natural thing. The mother will eat it, or the rest of the family as they gather in groups, small family groups. So you can see that the piglets is the main problem on the disease, followed by the sub-adults and the adults. So the adults, they show some resistance to the disease like normal, like we showed to the corona, for example. The healthy population didn't get sick. We had probability of being sick, but of course being adult and passing the disease from epidemia to endemism, it would be much faster. So the removal of the animals from nature should be targeted mostly in the adult, sub-adult and the piglets. So these are extra variables that we found. For example, the dry matter productivity. Of course, dry matter productivity is far away from villages as well, and you can see more near the villages where you have the agricultural fields and such. So the incidence of probability of African swine fever is a little bit there. Then the average annual temperature, of course, with the increase of temperature, the increase of the disease. And as well, this is interesting because the wolves normally select this area, the area with high tree cover density, and you see that there is a very few tree cover density, very few low probability of infection in the tree cover density. And again, the distance, this one I showed before. So just to finalize and to understand how the wolf can have this role on the African swine fever, basically these were the two factors, the main factors, the time and the space between the animals, and this is where the wolf can influence. And actually you can see, no, you cannot see because it doesn't come, but I will tell you. So this is the part where there is no wolf risk, and this blue is where there is wolf risk. So if the wolf population or if the African swine fever came to an area where the wolf was strong and the population of the wolf was strong, we wouldn't have an epidemic so big like we had in this moment. You can see that the difference, this goes 3 times lower where there is a high risk of wolf predation than in areas there is no risk predation. And the same situation with the proximity between 2 wild boars. Where the wolf risk, the probability, wolf predation risk was high, the probability of incidence of the disease would be much lower than when the wolf was not present. So what it means, 2 animals, they can be close, but if you have the wolf in between, the disease will be less prone to expand from the area. And it's missing something here. So this was the incidence of, just for you to have an idea how the wolf passed. I hope this will come back again. Yeah. No, so this was how the disease arrived to the study area. You can see that the main stronghold of the wolves are without the disease. This is the national park and this is the protected landscape area. And this is in the periods of 3 months. That is more or less how they report the information about the wild boar African swine fever. And you can see that the main core area of the wolf stayed with the low incidence of the spread. And this was the last that we analyzed. So basically we finalize our study, and we will finalize because it's still in the roll. We are waiting for more data, like I told you before. The black part is the high incidence risk of the wolf predation, and the red, yellow part is about the incidence of the African swine fever. And you can see along this map, even these areas there where we extrapolated the data, actually here there was no incidence because it's the high mountains, the low Tatras. But you can see that close to the cities is where the incidence of African swine fever goes more, and there are few areas where the wolf and predation risk coincide. These are specific areas where there are more than wolf predation risk and African swine fever. But you can see along the area of study and the area of extrapolated information, there were very few African swine fever. So just to summarize, the wild boar, it is selected species from wolf, and because the wild boar doesn't have problem to come near the people, this can become a problem in terms of the African swine fever because the wolf have the influences of the human presence for selecting of the habitat. And we found out that with the wolf's presence, there was and there is a probability of a control or a limitation on the African swine fever spreading. Mostly because I didn't as well mention to it, when the wolf eat the carcass, well I mentioned in another perspective, but when the wolf eat the carcass, it there it's where it ends the African swine fever, because there is no more spreading of the disease. With these prediction models, they can help for management, they can help for making the economical value of the wolf. We can start with another perspective of how to deal with the African swine fever and how to deal with this situation. For example, in Germany, they were thinking to create fenced areas where there is African swine fever. But like I showed you before, Sardinia, that can be think as a fenced area, is an island, so it's almost fenced by the water. The disease stayed there as endemic. So if we would create areas where we make the fence for the animals and to try to control the African swine fever, maybe we'll make endemic islands of African swine fever, and it will stay forever, because from endemic can come back. So the best solution is maybe try to leave it. Of course, make this pressure and try to kill some population that we have the sign that is infected. Of course, we have all the system, all the expenses, but we should count with the presence of wolf. I think this can be much positive in terms of we don't pay them. We just need to pay them with let them be more in peace than we have been doing till date. And hopefully next visit I will bring you a little bit more studies. We need to make more studies of the diet of the wolves. We did include summer in this diet, mostly because in the summer it's very difficult to find the scats, much more difficult than in the winter. We have to make a little bit more implementation of monitoring system all over the country. Like I mentioned before, in Slovakia it's still not much homogeneous the monitoring, so we have the sporadic data that is not enough for extrapolation of all the country. Even the numbers that we have, 250, 400 individuals, these are the most acceptable values, because in this moment the National Forest Center, they report more than 2,500 wolves just in Slovakia. So according to their numbers, that is as well a crazy number that was already, they calculate these numbers based on the data that the hunters collect from each hunting ground. And you can imagine that if the wolf pack lives in 6 hunting grounds, they are counted 6 times. So the values are not so much valuable. But this is the reality, the information is published, that is the data, and if they want to use it, is what they have. So we have to start thinking a little bit further. I started the presentation with that mention to the 1975 Red Book, that if you have the time to read it, and you will see the recommendations, all the recommendations there is what we need in this moment, and not even half of them were followed. And we have to continue making these tests for the wolf predation risk. I hope in Germany, now that they have the wolf, they won't think just in controlling the wolf in terms of hunting and the lobby of the hunting. Not saying that we cannot kill the wolf. Of course, there are other economics, but this would be another theme for another presentation, because it's a very sensitive problem. One of the main problems in Slovakia is that we have a word that is meant ochrana, and that word means protection and conservation. So there is a lot of grammatic war because of that, because the protection and conservation is not the same. And we are in the moment in time that we have to follow the conservation management, because it's the way that we can live all together. Not just the humans, but the humans and the animals. Because normally wolves doesn't have problem with people, people have problems with the humans. And further, we hope that this test with the African swine fever will increase. We will have to increase in data. We have to collect even more data of the presence of the wolf to make it more clear and not follow so much the last recommendations of the European Union that say that we have to start using the laws to reduce the population of wolf. This is one area as well in the center part. This is some pictures that I use. Thank you so much for your presence. I hope you have some questions, and that question might help us as well in the finalizing our study, because it's important for it.
Thank you, Nuno. So, questions?
Can be simple about packs of wolves, how do they live, from tell a little bit about African swine fever disease, but you are happy. I will be happy.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there a chance for the wolves to get sick from this kind of bacteria that you try to control with the wolves?
There was a small study made from Academy of Sciences from Poland. They didn't. The wolf didn't get any positive disease. This disease, especially the African swine fever, right?
Yeah.
Because if we talk about other diseases, anthrax, or even some mice disease, that can be transmitted, but this African swine fever is just for pigs, swine family, pigs, wild boars, wild hogs, and not for other species.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions?
Yes, there's a citation you highlighted that the third point was about the economic damages, and you said road collisions.
Yes.
So I would like you to explain or maybe add something on it. Is it that the road is damaged, or the wolf is damaged, or the car is damaged? I think.
Yeah, both situations. We have the car damage that makes the economic impact, and that is what people are worried about. And then we have the species, because normally the wolf have in their own territory, in the pack territory, they have roads that they use them. And you can imagine a wolf coming from Switzerland to Hungary, how many roads it passes. So maybe the roads are not really the problem, but the problem is exactly that, is when there is the crash, it will smash the car. In the case of the wolf, a wolf can go till 60 kilos, a big wolf. So you can imagine, we had the last 2 or 3 weeks in Slovakia, not the accident with the wolf, but with the bear. And if you see the car is completely destroyed. And it was a car with 100 kilos, I think 100 kilos individual. So that is the main economical impact. But from the side of the wolf, besides I was mentioning that the wolf traveled all these distances, the wolf might use the roads mainly at night when the density of the traffic is lower. So you have this compensation. But the roads are still one of the biggest impact on the mortality of the wolf. Thank you for your question. First.
Anybody else? Okay, then
Good.
I think it's time.
Yeah, one more question.
Yeah, one question. I'm just thinking about species distribution model that you showed us and the data behind it. So even some kind of presence and absence data, but it wasn't clear for me what does it mean, the data exactly.
Okay.
And may I have a question about the absence data?
Yes. I mentioned in that part, to go back like this, that we use the real absence.
And what does it mean, the real absence?
Yes. So
This is the
question. So we have a transect, and in the transect we have 10 kilometers, right? And in that 10 kilometers we found presence of wolf. So that presence is the value 1. That is the real presence. So, but in that 10 kilometers, we didn't find nothing else than 3 evidence. So we have 10 kilometers distance of absence of wolf besides that 3 points. So what we did, we divided the transect in points, locations. Enough, if I'm not mistaken, it was in 100 meters difference from each point.
But of course, we divided this transact that we did per year. For example, in 2014, we did these 10 kilometers a year, for example. We divide it in the 100 meters, and where we find the wolf, we remove those points because the absence is not real, there is presence. So that is how we generate much more points of absence. So is the real absence where we did not find the wolf. It doesn't mean that the wolf not there. We call it absence to use for what is normally used in general in the models, but we can call it as well availability. We can call or no. You can even say false presence because the wolf could be 50 meters, but in that exact location we didn't find any evidence. And that is how we found the zeros and then the ones. Was it clear?
No.
No.
But no, it's too complicated for me.
Yeah, because I imagine it in my head, but it's
More or less.
If I would have, so I can put it like this. So imagine these are 100 meters difference. So basically, if we would cover this area and we would not find the wolf in this area, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points of absence, right? But if we find the wolf here, we would cancel these two, and we did cancel this.
Yes, okay.
It's easy in my head. I could see it, but to explain
And
it.
it is usually scat or footprint.
Scat, footprint, urine. Urine in the terms that sometimes in the snow you can really identify the urine.
So you are doing it in winter when it's snow?
Yeah, we did it all over the year. Of course, the urine we found it in the winter, but and mostly in the summer was scats and prints. In the rainy period, you can find as well easily the footprints. Because we used the scalp, some of the evidence that we collected, we put it as a C3 that is not clear, so we removed that data. So just the ones that we were more than sure. Many people asked, but you have the dogs, the print, it will be different. Of course, in the mud can be complicated, but in Slovakia, you just have the shepherd dogs, and if you have stray dogs in the forest, they are killed, they are shot. More than I can make a calculation, more than 1,000 dogs or 700 dogs are killed per year. But this was clear.
Okay.
So this is why we generate much more points of availability than the presence. Okay. The nice question. So thank you.
Okay, this is the end with the time for lunch.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna make a selfie with all of you. Less people here. Can you turn on the light? Like that, I can say that I was not alone. And Sophie. Thank you so much for your presence.